What's happening, guys? Welcome to the Kiss the Ring podcast, a commissioner's podcast presented to you by Trophy Smack. My name is Memphis. I am your host tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to host a live draft. So I think you may know how to host a live draft, but do you know how to host a live draft the player profiler / Dynasty Warzone way? We are going to jump into that here in just a second. And I do apologize. We are struggling with some audio difficulties, but sounds like we're doing okay. So, again, my name is Memphis. I am the host of the show. And on tonight's show, we're going to talk about how to host a live draft. So, what does that mean? Hosting a live draft, this is the biggest redraft weekend of the year. Now, I know a lot of people probably did their drafts this past weekend, and there's a few people who maybe do their draft that weekend of Labor Day. I don't really love the weekend of Labor Day just because it takes away from the last holiday of the summer. I'm going to jump into that in just a second, but I want to remind you that this is a 2-channel show. Now, this will be the last Kiss the Ring preseason. I'll be doing something probably every month, maybe quarterly. We'll do like a month at a time. I'll pop in every 3 or 4 weeks, take some commissioner questions, and just where we think we need it. But I will be hosting a new show. I'll be hosting a show called The Juice. Now, The Juice is going to be a prop-based gambling show where we attack those player props that you see on spots like Underdog, Rival, etc. Just anywhere where you get your props, bet in, GM. A lot of places like that, you can use the promo code Underworld. So, but that's not the advertisement here. That would be the YouTube channels. Subscribe to 2, Dynasty Warzone and PlayerProfiler.com. First of all, I want to thank everybody. About a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, you know what? We're trying to get the Dynasty Warzone. We're trying to get it to over 500. The Player Profiler people come through, really helped me out, and we're up to like 520, 525. I mean, I'd love to be at 1,000. I decided today, I was like, I want to do something where I can give something away, and like a prize. Like when we get to 1,000, and I thought of it for those of you watching live, either on the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel or the Player Profiler YouTube channel. When we get the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel to 1,000, but it's like 400 and some odd to go, I'm going to give away Bo Jackson. If you've ever watched the show, I am going to give away Bo Jackson. I'll have to find something new to be like the focal point behind my head. It's not autographed. Now, I can autograph it. I'll put it like on a piece of paper, but we're trying to get the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel to 1,000. I think that would be cool, a little bit cooler than like giving away something else, like a sack of Jerry's pubes or something. But anyway, Dynasty Warzone on YouTube. Hook us up. Follow us there. So I am going to get right into how to have a great live draft, but let's get the commercials out of the way. Let's hear from the Podfather, and I'll be right back.
Hey, we've got to talk about Rival Fantasy today. Rival Fantasy, they're a huge supporter of everything we do, the podcast channel, the YouTube channel. It's possible because of Rival, and they have an incredible new offer. With promo code PLAYER, you double your deposit up to $200, and you get $25 in bonus bucks. So it's $225 additional to play in NFL preseason. You can do their props on the fantasy book where it's over, under, up to 5 guys. The more over-unders you hit, the higher your payout. And they have their challenges for the community. You can say, hey, I think that player X is going to go over this many fantasy points, and someone takes you up on it. They take the other side. It's great. I love their fantasy bingo, where you can do 5 across, you can do 4 in the corner, black it out, just predicting fantasy points on your favorite players, especially in preseason. The promo code is PLAYER, where they match your deposit up to $200 plus those $25 in bonus bucks. This offer is insane.
Yeah, big shout out to Rival. Thanks for sponsoring the show along with our friends over at Trophy Smack. So let's get into some of what I feel are the best practices to make your live draft. Now, maybe you're inviting over your old college buddies. Maybe it's a friends and family league. Maybe you're getting together, and I got a handful of things that will help you guys make this draft experience less clunky, less cumbersome, how to make everybody feel involved, everybody can help out, and less of a pain in the ass for you, the commissioner. Number one thing, get the money before the draft. If you're drafting this Saturday or Sunday, the 27th to 26th, whatever that weekend is, get all the money up front, and have all of the available electronic money transfer systems, I guess we'll call it for lack of a better phrasing. Have your PayPals, your Zells, Cash App, Venmo, whatever. Have them all. Have them all and have everybody's league dues there. That way people aren't, coming in, you're pulling them to the side. Hey, do you have the league dues? I'd love to be able to get this going, because not everybody carries cash. And if you have, again, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, etc., if you have that already set up on your phone, you can eliminate that awkwardness way out ahead before people even walk in the front door. So let's say you're in a 12-person league and you're going $50 a person. You should have $600. If you got all $600, you're good to go. You can put the first pick on the clock. And the minute you get the money, this is just a little side note that's not necessarily tied back to a live draft. But as soon as you have all the money, get it and put it like in an old-fashioned like savings account. Put it somewhere where you don't have like any urge to do something silly with it. And you're like, oh, I'll pay it back. That never works out. So rule number one, get the money before the people show up at the draft site, and make sure the money's safe. Be a commissioner of integrity and make sure that people know that they're going to get paid when they win the league. You play for money, you want to get paid. So number one thing is have a live draft when you can. I think most of you that have ever been through a live draft would agree there's nothing better than getting together once a year. Again, your old college friends. For me, it's a former work league. We've been doing this for, I think this will be the 18th year, and almost none of us work for the company that we worked at when we first started this league. But fantasy football and this redraft league is what puts us together. And I love it. I love this weekend. This is the best weekend because inevitably, if you try to book it over Labor Day weekend, all the preseason games are pretty much over, but you're intruding on people's holidays, people that go to the lakes, people that are traveling, in some cases, unlike Indiana, we're already back in school. This could be the last trip a lot of families have before back to school time. So this would be your best weekend. Next thing I have for you is know your audience. If you're a young, vibrant, rowdy crowd, that's awesome. This is the group that's best served to draft on like Saturday afternoons, like around 4 o'clock. And remind them, little tip from Uncle Memphis, because I've been this guy, start boozing after the draft. If we're doing a live draft and I don't have to work the next day and I have a safe drive home, Uber, whatever, I'm going to have a couple of pops. I'm going to have like a nice old fashioned, a little bourbon, something. But don't really let people start getting too crocked until about after the draft, because nobody wants to be drafting next to the drunk guy that's drafting retired players, because inevitably someone's going to draft Tom Brady. It's going to happen. And it just makes it clunky, and you want it to be a party. Get everybody there. Like I said, get it in the middle of the afternoon. Turn it into a booze fest as soon as the draft is over. Have fun and remind everybody to be safe. I know it feels, I don't know, I guess maybe corny, but it's not. It's very important to remind your friends to be safe and to make sure they get home safely. And we live in a day and age where drunk driving is not really a thing, shouldn't be a thing. I know it can be a thing, but remind your friends, give them a place to crash, take their keys, get them an Uber, do something, no drinking, no driving, but have a good old time. Or maybe your group's like my group. We're a little bit older. We're family oriented. It's husbands, it's wives, it's, they bring the kids. And in some cases, the kids are now drafting with mom or dad. It's really cool. This is the perfect group to do Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m. because this is where the truth lies. It's early enough that you can show up, you can eat, you can have 1, maybe 2 cocktails, you can get the draft done, and you can bail. work on Monday morning, getting the kids to school Monday morning is a great reason to have to leave the draft. You're there, you get there at 5, you draft, you socialize, you're there 3 or 4 hours, and you get the hell home. Now, for me, this type of draft, the 101 is a barbecue or pitch in. But here's the deal. You have to assign this. Remember, you're the commissioner. You're in charge. Give everybody a thing to bring. Because inevitably, if you say, hey, we're having a pitch in, you're going to get 12 people bringing drinks, or 12 people bringing potato chips, or 12 people bringing desserts, and you're not going to have what you need. This is something that we figured out the hard way in my old league, is we assign it. Hey, you 4 bring stuff for the grill, because the host will bring something for the grill. 3 other people. 4 people, because we're a 12-team league. 4 people, you bring stuff for the grill. Cool. You 4 people bring sides, chips, dip, dessert, whatever. Because inevitably there's always way too much food. And then the final 4 people, they bring beverages. Now, as the host, if you're hosting or you're working with the host, make sure they have paper plates and paper napkins. The last thing you want is out on a late Sunday night, waking up Monday morning, having a shit pile of dishes and having to clean up your home. Makes it tough. Very tough out there to clean up on Monday. So paper plates, way to go. Not great for the environment, but great for you to get it done. And I will tell you, there is nothing better than getting 9, if you're in a 10-team league, 11, 13, even 15 people together for food and football. And that's what live drafts are best for. Now, let's get into something about the draft order. Now, we do a boring draft order, to be real honest. We do like playing cards. So we'll take the ace through queen. We take 12 cards. There's 13 in a suit, and we take 12 of those cards, ace being the 1, queen being the 12. We shuffle them all up. Everybody draws a card. That becomes our random draft order. Now, we'll get into technology here in a little bit here in the podcast. That creates the draft order. I tell you this year, because I put this in the draft kit, I'm going to change this because this is kind of boring. Why can't we get there and have a cornhole tournament for the 101? Or do a Kentucky Derby style draft? If you don't know what a Kentucky Derby style draft is, it's where you can still draw or do a game or an event for the draft order, but whoever draws the ace, in the case of our way of doing it, that person gets to pick where they draft. Like if I draw the 1, I don't want the 101. I'll be honest, I don't. I never do. I like drafting in the middle. I think drafting in the middle, just a little strategy talk here for a sec. I think drafting in the middle allows me to avoid like the big runs. Like if you're in a super flex league and you don't want to miss out on the quarterbacks, or in a tight end premium league, when you're on those ends, that 1, 2, or the back end, that 11, 12, and there's a big run, there's no greater sadness than being there and just watching everybody you want get plucked off the board. So that is a Kentucky Derby style draft. You draw if I draw the ace, I'm picking the 105. If I draw the deuce, I'm taking the 105 or the 106. So you can throw in the Google machine how to do a Kentucky Derby style draft if you've never done one. A cornhole tournament, a euchre tournament, poker game. If you can get all 12 people around a poker table, as people drop out of the poker tournament, they draft in a certain order. There's a lot of things that you can do to determine it, but if you absolutely have to, you can absolutely do something to randomize the draft order. You really shouldn't do it till the day of, unless you're the savvy GM that wants to get the leg up on everyone. Still get people together, even if it's virtual. I'm going to talk about the virtual way of hosting a draft, or doing a mixed draft, as we'll call it, here in just 1 second. Promise, last commercial. I've got to play the commercial for the for the draft kit, because it is draft kit season.
Hey, it's the Podfather. I have great news. The 2023 draft kit is live. It is world famous. Why? Because it is the best resource for winning fantasy football championships that exists. There are rankings and cheat sheets for every format you can imagine. We have projections both at the team level and the player level. And wherever you are, you can click on a player, open them up, and see in-depth written analysis about what to expect in fantasy football from that player this year. And then you can click on the team and you can get even more in-depth analysis, all the drivers of fantasy production, both in a positive and negative direction for that team, including a signature trend. And the graphics are incredible. So these team insights, they give you the team level projections, the vacated targets, the vacated areas, and that one dynamic for each team that you need to know when making decisions on draft day. And we added a bunch of features. I mean, individual cheat sheets for Theo and Billy and Dario. So you could take your favorite analyst and download their personal draft cheat sheet. And then in the commissioners section, also brand new this year, Memphis Young lays out everything you need to know to manage a league, do's, don'ts, tips, and what the more innovative fantasy commissioners are doing this year. That's presented by Trophy Smack. The whole package is presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the FFPC, Ray Garvin, Derek Brown, the best minds in the industry contributing analysis. It's certainly not the most inexpensive draft kit on the market, but it is the best. PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit. PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit. Go get it.
All right. Big thanks to the Podfather and the draft kit. Yeah, everything that I'm talking about tonight is in written form in the draft kit. I had a guest planned. I had a lot planned, fighting some technological issues, but we're going to battle on. So speaking of technology, this is the next thing. So I can tell you, embracing technology like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, or we use StreamYard here to stream podcasts. These are all basic things to where you can get people in the room without actually being in the room, because you still want people to feel involved. Like maybe you've got like a former college friend who lives in Arizona and you live in Texas or whatever, and everybody just can't get together. You should still be able to set up a commissioner's workstation with a plugged in laptop. Yes, you heard that correct, plugged in, because you think the thing's all the way charged and inevitably it dies. And if you have a good working USB camera, that makes it perfect. Set the workstation up in the corner. If you're doing a draft board, give them the good view of the draft board. That way, everything, it makes them feel like they're part of the live draft, even though they're remote. And this will give the commissioner the ability to blend a live draft and a virtual draft simultaneously. If you can get a friend, someone who's tech savvy, to help man the workstation, it's great. We're sponsored by Trophy Smack, and I love the big draft board, but it's also good if you have someone who can still use the app to get everything loaded in Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, whatever it is. We use Sleeper at Player Profiler. We're a Sleeper shop, if you will. But trying to get that draft loaded into the app or the website as fast as possible is great. I think everybody, you can do a draft board. It requires work on the back end for you, the commissioner. But I think letting everybody draft on their phone or a tablet, I think that's the way to go. I want that instantaneous. I want the league up and running faster. Why? It'll eliminate double picks, or it will help speed things up. It will give people access to best player available. And the biggest thing is it allows action after the draft. I mean, you're all there. You have a you have a captive audience right there in your home at a draft site, and you're able to do everything right there on the spot, because the draft is done. Some people start to leave, but it's a great way to have a conversation about how to get the action going in the league. So due to the issues that I'm having and the ability not to have a guest, I'm just going to jump into the chat. If you have questions and you're watching, I see people watching, I will be happy to answer those. Let's start right here with Brian. What do you think of Ridley? Is he worth a second round pick? No, I do not think Calvin Ridley is worth a second round pick. I think Calvin Ridley is going to be really good this year. I did see his ADP has creeped up into the back end, the 24th pick. Really good stuff with Calvin Ridley. He's a sell for me in Dynasty, which is my primary focus of the content that I create. But no, that's too early for me. Let's see here. Brian back again saying, forget the beer, pull on some good marijuana and eat good food. If it's legal, about half the states, 30 states right now, great way to have fun. Just remember, make sure that everybody's safe. Everybody has a safe way home. Keep going here through the chat. Mike says each person brings 3 bingo numbers. You're rolling till everybody gets a number picked. Sounds fun, but you got to have a bingo cage, etc. From there. Going on. Yeah, any questions, guys? I'll stick around for a little bit. I'll edit this out of the podcast. We'll still leave the questions, some of the staggered pauses and things here on the live feed. I'm just trying to navigate through the best I can. Thoughts on Hal tonight? I have not looked. I will, as we're doing the podcast, I will pull up what Mr. Hal has done this evening. It's a great thing about having a laptop and the phone, little NFL. Commanders, I'm going box score scout right now for this. 19 to 25, 2 tutties. Who do you hit? A Diami Brown sighting, and Antonio Gibson. I'll tell you, the Antonio Gibson sighting's good to see. I do love Antonio Gibson. I will just tell you this as it relates to the off season or the preseason NFL action, is that teams aren't scheming or planning for each individual offense. You're seeing their base offense and defense for the most case. They're basically not showing a bunch, and that's by design. So I don't get too hyped. Like, I'm seeing a lot of hype right now for Aiden O'Connell and just Tank Dell. I'm just thinking of the players that have set the preseason on fire, and I don't get too caught up in it. I'm looking for the basics. Does the college tape match the pro tape? Am I able to see it on paper? A guy that I really like right now, that I really like the offense and what's going on, is Jayden Reed. Looks tremendous. We talked about him last night. He would be a big buy for me in Dynasty. Continues to be a big buy for me in Dynasty. But I am not getting my headphones back, and I do apologize. I wanted to go out on a great note. I had a commissioner guest lined up, just not able to get everything pulled off with the technology. But since I won't have time the rest of the week to record this, I am going to call it a show. I apologize for the shortness. That's not normally what we do here. We're normally 45 minutes to an hour. But due to the technological issues, if you guys need anything or you want to be in the commissioner's section later on in the season, hit me up at DWZ Memphis. I will be doing a show called The Juice. Now, The Juice will be a gambling-based podcast. And what I'll do is Friday nights at about 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, because the player props used to come out around lunchtime on Friday. And I've noticed the sports books tend to sit on them a little bit longer than they used to. So they'll come out a little bit like around 5 p.m. Eastern time, and only need just a little bit of time to go over them and pick the 3 or 4 that I really like. And then I'll stream live Friday nights at 10. It'll probably be a half-hour show, and I'll instantly convert it to a podcast so that you guys that listen to audio versions of podcasts, that you'll be able to go back and listen to that as well. But the point of the juice is that we got to act very quickly. If you've ever bet sports or bet props, you know that the numbers move very quickly. The game that we're watching live tonight on Monday Night Football, this number has moved like 3 times, and everything moves on information. So to make sure that you have a fresh, accurate, or as accurate as possible podcast, is to do it live. And we'll be doing it live Friday nights around 10 p.m. Hop on here with me. And I did real well with this a couple of years ago. I batted about 65%. I have to go back and look. I didn't do it in 22. I did it in 21. And the name of that show was the Propcast. You can go back and find it in the archives of the Dynasty Warzone feed. But I am just filibustering at this point, and I got bad news. It looks like Terry McLaurin got hurt, but Zay Flowers had a nice catch and run. Again, thank you guys all summer for supporting the Kiss the Ring podcast. It's been great. I will be back around in season taking those bad commissioner stories. Mike and everybody in the chat, been a lot of support tonight, a lot of comments. Brian, also great in the chat. Looks like Josh and a couple of others. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. I apologize for the technological difficulties. We'll be back here on Thursday night doing a bonus edition of the Dynasty Warzone on the Dynasty Warzone feed. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the biggest redraft weekend of the summer, and I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you.